Welcome to Paul Ricard in the south of France as we prepare for the latest round of the FIA GT3 European Championship. I'm Ben Edwards, joined by Grand Prix winner Johnny Herbert. Hayley Coxon is bringing us all the news from the pits, and we're on the HTTT circuit, our high-speed test facility here at Paul Ricard. And Johnny, it's got this absolutely unique look to it. That's the stripiness of it. These blue and red stripes, which for people who've maybe never watched racing from Paul Ricard must be thinking, what on earth's that all about?
Well, it's as blue as the sky is, to be perfectly honest, at the ground. But it's basically a safety thing. There's no gravel traps anywhere on the circuit. The blue is a little bit of abrasive paint that they have, so if you do spin off, it slows you down. And then the red that we've just gone out of shop, there is some red which is right sort of further out. It's very, very aggressive and does actually, if you go into it spinning, it actually does give you a puncture and rips the tyres apart. But it stops you, and it's just another different concept. There's the red one there, and that is very, very aggressive. And if you go on that, generally, you always get a puncture.
And the other thing is really no gravel traps. I mean, there's dust, a sort of sandy surface, but there's no real gravel traps because these take the place of the gravel traps, don't they?
No, as I said, there are no gravel traps absolutely anywhere on the circuit, and it's a fascinating sort of concept to have, and it's something that does actually work very, very well.
So the cars are lining up on the grid in preparation for the first of two races here this weekend, and it is an absolutely glorious day. You can see there's a lovely breeze fluttering the flags on the start line there, but the blue sky above, the sun shining as it has been from an early hour this morning, and the cars are gleaming. Look at that Lamborghini that's on pole position. It's the number 24 car, race winner at Navarra, Albert van Turn and Taxi, who took pole position in his session this morning, and sharing the car with the man he shared that win with, Nick Melnhoff. And these two guys had a difficult start to the season, but they're now 8th in the championship, and a good result here, that could boost them further up the order. Of course, the Lamborghini Gallardo with its V10 power unit sitting behind the drivers, mid-engined of course, but interesting to see that Porsche have come back on form this weekend, Johnny, because Paul van Splunteren is up on the front row with the Porsche 911.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've been off for a couple of races, but seem to have got it back up to speed, and it's going to be a fascinating first couple of laps.
Yeah, it'll be Porsche versus Lamborghini up front. Driving that Lamborghini will be Albert van Turn and Taxi, and he's talking to Hayley right now.
Albert, you've got to be happy starting in pole and hoping to turn it into another podium finish?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm quite happy to start in pole, but the challenge will be to bring it home. And I think that we are up there with the top speeds, but the Porsche is quite a big step faster on the straight. So yeah, it really is all about the first corner, really, because once the Porsche is in front, it will be quite tough to get a hold of him because of the speed on the straight. And yeah, I just hope that the start will go fine and clean, and then I think Nicky and me should be able to bring it home.
Thank you, Albert.
So yes, it's slightly less ebullient Albert than we saw after qualifying when he got pole position, because he's now got his race head on, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and he did a fantastic job in qualifying. He did a good job here actually last year, I remember. So he's very likes the circuit a lot. But as you said, that Porsche there that we got on screen is going to be quite interesting, that first corner. If it does get in front, it will be very hard for him, but I think it will be a fascinating first lap.
Well, the Mercedes have also been strong. Now, this is the first on the grid for this race. It's Dominic Bormann in the Heiko Motorsport car, number 44. He's sitting 10th in the championship with co-driver Bryce Bosey. And alongside them on the grid for this one is the first of the Ferraris, which is Federico Leo. But we're going to go back up to the front row for the moment. Paul van Splunteren starting the Porsche on the front row. Let's hear from him.
Paul, it's certainly great to see the Porsche starting on the front row. Will you be able to take the Lamborghini at the first corner?
I don't know. It's a long race, you know. It's good when we both come through, and let's see after half an hour how the situation is. I'm going to do my best, of course. We're very happy to be back on the front again. Took a while, and let's try to capitalize now and bring home a nice result.
Second in last year's European Championship was Paul van Splunteren, sharing with Holzer, Marco Holzer in the Porsche. He's got a different co-driver this year in the shape of Max Soule. Now, here is the number 50 Ferrari, which I mentioned, top Ferrari on the grid, the all-black car of Federico Leo. Two youngsters in this team, Italian youngsters who've really come through single-seater ranks before they got involved in GT3. And Johnny, you get a real contrast of drivers in this championship, which I enjoy. You know, you've got the guys who've come out of Formula Renault, perhaps didn't have the budgets to go F3 or GP2, but you've also got the businessmen, you've got guys who've come through a completely different way. I mean, Enzo E, driver of this Audi, for example, he's a young guy, only in his second year of racing. He's got a budget, he's got a good co-driver in Greg Frankie, who's got lots of experience. You get a real cross-section, don't you?
You do, and I think the concept works very, very well. It's great that the less experienced guys can actually race against less experienced guys. They're not up against the quick ones, but at the end of the day, it's great that we got the two different ones.
Enzo E, a winner last time out, and I think we can hear from him now.
Enzo, a win in the last race. You're here starting on the third row. Can you turn it into a podium finish?
I think it will be very hard because of our 10-15 second penalty, but I will try to take a good start and win one or two positions in the start, and then we will see how the race goes on.
Thank you.
Just a quick mention on what he's talking about, the pit stop penalty. Because he was a winner last time out, the winner of previous race gets 15 seconds added to their minimum pit stop time. They all have a minimum pit stop time in the pits of 80 seconds, but if you won the last race, you get an extra 15 added on.
Only 15.
Only 15, eh? Well, it doesn't make life too easy, does it?
No, it doesn't, no.
Now, there's the number 51 Ferrari, and this car has qualified on the third row. Glyn Geddy will be starting that car, sharing it with Dan Brown. Watch out for this BMW, though. This is the number 6 car. Edward Sandstrom and Abdulaziz Al Faisal. They've had a couple of great runs. They had a victory at the start of the season, pushing hard with Montuna Taxis in the first race at Navarra last time out. Now a bit late coming onto the grid there was the other BMW. Don't quite know why that was a bit late arriving, but it is there now. Chava Walter and Claudia Hurtgen's car. Back down to another of the Mercedes SLSs, but we're going to just talk to the driver actually of one of those BMWs first of all. So Aziz Al Faisal, he's talking to Haley.
Abdulaziz, you've had a great start to the season. How do you feel this race is going to pan out for you?
Looks so good so far from free practice and qualifying. I mean, I hope the race pays or gets better for us. So we were always strong in the race, but so far this is our worst qualifying position. So hopefully the race will be better. We can only fingers crossed that everything goes well.
Thank you.
So Al Faisal, Saudi royalty, he is Saudi prince, and also the Middle East Porsche Carrera Cup champion a couple of years ago. So looking forward to the BMW in this race, see how they get on. But the BMWs, which have been so strong elsewhere, may have met a bit of a match this weekend. The Mercedes are looking strong, aren't they, Johnny?
No, they are. Yeah, the BMWs are on Dunlop tyres as well, so actually it seems to be making a bit of a difference. They're very hard to get the best out of qualifying. They should be better in the race. Maybe the grid position is not very good, but as you said, the Mercedes as well seems to be very good and very well suited to this Paul Ricard circuit.
Yeah, lots of horsepower. Another Porsche further down the grid. Only the two Porsches. All white Ferrari there. What do you reckon on the colour scheme there? Nice sort of virginal white 52 Ferrari.
I prefer red.
You prefer red. You're a red Ferrari man.
I'm a red man.
Okay, well that's a new car into the championship. So the all-white car, the Omra Racing entry of Yannick Malagol and Jean-Marc Bachelier. They're both bronze drivers. In fact, there's a separate trophy up for grabs for a team that is just bronze drivers. They're calling it the Gentleman's Trophy. So if you're top bronze, all-bronze team, then you get a chance to win a separate trophy. Now, right down at the back there, the BMW, the two BMWs from the faster racing team, surprisingly, a long way down the back of the grid. And there we are, there's the number 35 car. This is the championship leading car. And they had some issues in qualifying this morning and just did not have the pace. So Herbert Voss and Jeroen den Boer starting this car way, way back down the grid. And we'll try and keep an eye on their progress and see whether they are able to claim some places as we move through the race. Then we've got the number 13 Ford GT down towards the back there. We'll see whether they can make any progress as well. And another of the Ferraris as we move back up towards the top end of the field. And let's hope that we get a good, clean getaway here at Paul Ricard. Sometimes there can be a bit of bunching, and we've seen accidents in the start of races, so we'll hope that this will be a good, clean one. It'll be a rolling start when they come back past us after a formation lap. And Paul van Splunter nearest the camera in the blue and white Porsche. Albert Montuna Taxis on the far side in the white and black Lamborghini. The grid is being cleared now. Eduardo Freitas is race director, making sure that everything is being done according to the FIA regulations. And last few people just leaving the grid. Was the doors shut? That's okay. And everyone getting ready there. In fact, the lead car's already moving away on the start of this formation lap. and 28 GT3 cars. We've got 8 different manufacturers represented in this race. We've got Porsches, Mercedes, BMWs, Ford GTs, we've got Aston Martins, Audis, Ferraris and Lamborghinis. It's a wonderful mixture of supercars. These are the GT3 cars, so they run to much more standard specification. Driver aids such as ABS and traction control, they're allowed as well, which really helps the gentleman drivers.
Yeah, I think it does. It actually, even for me, I'm actually doing the GT3 at Spa the next race, and it's something that the ABS is damn interesting because you can brake so late with these things. So from that point of view, even for these gentleman drivers, actually adapting to a sort of a race car on a race track and being able to brake so late, it takes a bit of time to get accustomed to. But this is the challenge of this GT3 European Championship.
Yep, and the marked cars making their way around on the lap as we just run through the grid order there at the bottom of the screen. So that gives you an idea. And you will see, if you watch both GT3 races this weekend, quite a lot of difference actually, because of the sharing between two drivers of quite different abilities sometimes. Get a real mix-up in the results, which adds to the entertainment value. So we'll see what happens. For example, Mike Parisi took pole for the second race of the weekend in the number 3 Graf Racing Mercedes, but it starts back on the 5th row of the grid for this one. It's actually 9th on the grid because his teammate clearly wasn't quite as rapid as he is. So you do get a real mixture.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing. Of course, when they change drivers, Mike then gets in the car, but he's actually starting further back, and then he can actually push and try and come through the field. That's where I find the racing is really, really interesting to watch. Yeah,
that's right. The quick guy gets in the second half of the race in this one, and as you say, we'll try and gain as many places as possible. His teammate Philippe Giac is a businessman, like many of the sort of amateur gentleman racers, and 48-year-old Swiss businessman, and he's still done pretty well to get it on the 5th row, and he'll hand over to Mike Parisi later. But up front, what's good about the number 24 Lamborghini, Johnny, is that the two drivers, Albert Montuna-Taxis and Nicky Marmelhoff, seem to be pretty evenly matched. They're both silver-rated drivers. Neither of them are gold, but they're both pretty damn good, aren't they?
Absolutely, and they seem to be very suited. I know Albert loves the Lamborghini. He seems to be very suited to here, as I said before. But they both seem to be doing very good as well. So I think they're going to be quite tough to break, but it's possible. It's going to be all down to the start, like Albert was telling us. But I think Paul in the Porsche there is going to try the best he can to actually get in front, and that's what's going to make it really interesting. So we have the number 8. Yeah,
the Aston Martin starting from the pits there. That's the LMP Motorsport Engelbert and Delhez car, so I'm not quite sure. They must have had a problem. In fact, it's not Engelbert in the car this weekend. It's a slight change on driver lineup. Jean-Charles Mignetti is in that car this weekend. Engelbert's just concentrating on GT1 in the Corvette. Now then, pace car has got them nicely gathered together, so hopefully they'll hold formation around the last couple of corners. They've still got the left and right that lead them back onto the pit straight.
Well, hopefully they'll be sort of getting all the temperature they can in the tyres, warming the brakes, because obviously the brakes are going to be important for braking into turn 1. Yeah, that's right. They've got to try and, these mid-engine and rear-engine cars, they've got to try and make sure they've got temperature in the front tyres. That's the key thing, isn't it, as they get ready for the start. So here we go then, the FIA GT3 European Championship race at Paul Ricard. Beautiful weather conditions is about to get underway. Lamborghini versus Porsche off the front row as the lights change. And it's Albert Montuna-Taxis on the right as we look at it. Paul van Splunteren on the left. And cars going all the way across the white lines. And must be careful about that because drivers were done for that last year. Albert Montuna-Taxis leads, but the Mercedes just squeaking into second place. Ferrari.
Oh, and the Porsche coming back across the blue. Cars on one side and the other. That is the thing about this track. If you can use a lot of runoff, and the Lamborghini's only still just in front. The Ferrari has got into second place. Federico Leo in the black Ferrari squeezed his way into second place. Bauman's back down to third in his car. Glyn Geddy in the red Ferrari. Oh, and a spinner. That was Bauman. Bauman from third has spun in the Mercedes SLS, and he's thrown away all that hard work in the first couple of corners.
Wow, that's not the best thing to do that early in the race. Really, they should be aware of these cars are going to be very loose, but he's going to make it really difficult for himself and obviously his teammate when he gets in the car a bit later.
Yeah, that's going to be hard work. The other Porsche further back down the field, the number 2 car trying to make a bit of ground as well. On board with the championship leading BMW Z4, qualified poorly, but can it now make a little bit of progress in the early stages, coming down to the chicane. Potential outbraking, but also potential time to hit somebody if you're not careful. You can just see him in the background getting past the number 21 car of Duncan Cameron there. So we're back on board that BMW, and Herbert Voss much happier, I think, with the handling of the car than he was in qualifying this morning.
Well, it seems to be, and I've said he's on those slightly different tyres, and that may be something that might, if he can get a good start, they might come work into his play. This circuit is very aggressive on the tyres, and they have an hour's racing to go ahead.
To other BMWs there, the Need for Speed Team Schubert cars, the black and white cars, they're on the Dunlop, remember, and they don't necessarily have the initial pace, but they should be solid later on. Number 33, black and white Audi R8, race winner last time out, but under some pressure there from Glyn Geddy in the number 51 Ferrari, the new 458, new to GT3 this year. But what a competitive proposition it is. But does it have the reliability to... oh, and he's having a little look. No, thought he might have a try into the last corner. There's a Mercedes on the move. Several Mercedes all running together in that little group. And the Porsche's definitely gained some time. So it's Lamborghini leading of Albert Montana Taxis. Castellacci, Federico Leo in second place. The car he shares with Castellacci, the Ferrari. Oh, look at the BMW here, riding on board as he tries to make another place. He's got down the inside. This is for 16th position as they come down into turn one. Comfortably done. And getting past Mark Patterson, that was, in the United Autosports Audi. And now going chasing after the number 16 Audi R8. And everybody trying to settle into position in the early stages of this race. Also got a battle there between Le Soudier and the number 11 Mercedes, which was the Machinsky car. So there's the Mercedes trying to recover, by the way. Number 44 car, remember he had a spin. Oh, back on board with the championship leader. What happened there?
I think he was just trying to get up the inside.
Right,
Didn't quite make it, got the nose chopped off him. Now he's got that long straight. It's the Minstrel Straight. It's 1.8 kilometres long with a chicane down the middle. It used to be without the chicane, but the chicane just makes it that little bit more difficult for these guys because they're braking from quite high speed, about 250 kilometres.
Interesting, isn't it? The top speeds are actually not much different to the GT1 cars. They have less downforce, so they're actually a bit more slippery through the air. So they might have a tiny bit less power, but they're just about as fast in a straight line.
Absolutely, but then they haven't quite got as much for braking. Here's a restart.
Yeah, look at who did what, and what happened with the Lamborghini sort of got away. It was all about second place, wasn't it? Because the Ferrari managed to
Ferrari
squeeze
there,
through.
you see the Ferrari slips through down the inside of the Mercedes, so he actually got a very good, clean start. That Mercedes and that Porsche were fighting over each other. The Porsche goes off across the blue, but he goes round the outside of the Mercedes. A very good start for that black Ferrari.
And there's there's a spinner for the number 16 Audi. Hopefully he'll get that pointed in the right direction again.
Yeah, there's that blue paint making all the difference to stop him from spinning off further.
Absolutely. So there is the Ford GT. Now that's the next one, I think, under threat from Herbert Voss. Actually, he lost a bit of time on that lap, Voss. I think that resulted, we sort of caught the end of it from the onboard. He ended up losing a bit of time, but he's regained it again. It's still the Lamborghini of Von Turner Taxis who leads. That's Glyn Geddy on the attack in the Ferrari here, trying to get past Enzo Eade. He's having a look. No, Enzo, the youngster, but who's taken 2 wins.
Through, actually.
Do you reckon he got through?
I think that the black car, I think, went a bit wide.
We'll see next time. Yeah. Meanwhile, behind him, it's still De Moustier. Sandstrom in his BMW is running 7th. Chava Walter in the number 7 BMW is running 8th. And then Giog in the car he shares with Mike Parisi is in 10th. So the Ferrari did get through, you're right, Johnny. And in fact, no, that's the other car, that's the 15 car. The car shared with Dino Lunardi, but at the moment, it's De Moustier in the car and just about fending off the BM. Now, let's see.
Yeah, it just runs a bit wide there, and then he's just obviously the red Ferrari there has just got the better line where the Audi has to back out. That was a good move, just a pressure move, just gave him enough pressure that made a mistake.
Actually, Jerome Demey in the black and blue Audi currently in 6th place. There it is, with the 2 BMWs bearing down on it. And Demey hoping to try and keep them behind. The 27-year-old, he's a businessman himself rather than a racing driver. So he's the sort of amateur side of things, but he's doing a good job at the moment. There is Glyn Geddy now clear in 4th. So 5th place for Eade, 6th place for Demey, 7th for the 2 BMW, 7th and 8th. In fact, number 45 car there of Sladecker, that's running in 11th place. Mercedes, So Mercedes not featuring quite as strongly yet in this race, because we saw the spinner earlier on, Baumann, out of that lead group. And the Ferrari really getting away from those cars now, isn't it?
Well, it is. And again, this number 6 BMW has been looking very good, Sandstrom, Edward Sandstrom, and he seems to be sort of have the pace, but he just doesn't seem to quite have enough to pass these cars. And as you said, because they're sort of looking in their mirrors and fighting each other, they're just allowing that Ferrari to pull away.
Experienced driver is Sandstrom, and he's a sort of full-time driver. And as a former Scandinavian Carrera Cup champion, so he knows his business. He's on those Dunlops, as you say, trying to, as they get maybe better and better as the race progresses, he could be in a threatening position there. The leader, by the way, didn't cross the line last time with a 1.8 second gap, so it's Lamborghini leading Ferrari by 1.8 up front. As we just have a look back at the two Graf Racing Mercedes, Giac is in 9th place, and right behind him is the number 4 car, their teammate's car. So they're running reasonably consistently. It's Grégoire de Moustier in the number 4 car, sharing with Lambot. And then there's another Mercedes tucked in behind. That's the 45 car of Sladecker. So not much difference in performance between these three, of course. The Gullwing Mercedes SLS with its long body, lots of horsepower, but it's a heavy car as well. It's sort of, on the balance of performance, it probably has more sheer grunt than a lot of the other cars, but it also carries more weight.
Absolutely, and again, I think it's been quite a successful sort of race car, really. You wouldn't have expected it. It's so long in summary. I think it's nearly 2 meters long, but it has all that power. Handle seems to be, handling is quite good on the car, but I don't know if they're quite suited enough to this track, because it's normally very hard on the tyres.
Yeah, he went a bit deep, didn't he?
He went a bit too deep, yes.
Back on board with Herbert Voss, championship leader.
Good run out there.
Yeah, and he's up behind the Aston Martin at the moment. So
the Aston's got more speed. You can see he's starting to pull away.
Okay.
So again, this is where he's having his problem, because we have a lot of straight. You know, the back straight here is actually sort of half of the circuit, effectively. And he hasn't obviously got that speed. He's got the cornering speed we see there. Can he get up the inside? Very good.
That was just speed through the senior corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is what they need. We didn't see it through the qualifying. There's a Ferrari that seems to be either running wide or pulling out. No,
is that the Glenn car? I think or is it the... Yeah, it is Glenn Geddy who was running in 4th. What has happened to Glenn?
He must have spun or something.
Yeah, because he dropped about 10 places there. Oh, that's a real shame. It's a brand new car, that one. According to his teammate Dan Brown earlier in the weekend, it is not the same car they raced at Navarra. It's a brand new one. And they were hoping for good things, but something's happened on that lap. Remember, he was pulling away from the group behind him. He got past Enzo Eid, but suddenly he's dropped back as the Mercedes going slowly down the pit straight as well, coming into the pits, in fact. So things beginning to develop. We're still early stages of this race, though. The Aston versus the Ferrari, and the Ferrari doesn't seem to be showing the same turn of pace that it had earlier in this race.
Not in the speed, no, definitely not. No, well, he must have had a spin there. So the double right-hander at the Bessat, yes, and I think he had a big spin there. He must have been a big spin, because he must have gone quite a way off to lose as much space as places as 10.
Yeah.
So it's a big drop, and obviously he's just dropped another one with that Aston Martin there.
So he's in 13th place, yes, that's right, with behind the BMW. So let's see if we pick it up here, Johnny.
Well, that's going through C. That's the very quick right-hander, and then the next one is the Bessat. Oh, you can hear it. There you go.
I heard it.
I can hear it.
Harding heard it, can't see it.
And that's quite high speed there as well. So he's going to be a long way. I think we see him coming back from the left.
Yeah. There he is.
But there he is, yes. So it all happened a bit early there, unfortunately.
The indication was he did it on his own, wasn't it? Didn't seem to be anyone
around.
On
his own, no, definitely on his own.
Now look at this lot. Now this is the number 3 Mercedes getting in between the 2 BMWs and trying to squeeze out the number 6 car, Sundstrom. And Sundstrom has actually dropped as he dropped behind his teammate. Yeah. So Chava Walter in the black, predominantly black Z4, has gone in front of his teammate. The Mercedes are now, though, is
going to pass there, yeah.
Squeezed him out.
Well, both. Nearly the second one there. That number 4 nearly got through. This is where the Mercedes is going to be very good. This is where power is, but this is then where the BMW is very good in these corners. You might slip up the inside. Let's have a look. Not quite.
Trying to. The small pressure BMW.
Possible here as well. Not quite.
Not quite. Very easy to sort of lose the front end of the car to another car there if you try and slide up the inside without the space. And he's still got the other Merc behind him. So Edward Sundstrom not had a good lap there. He was in 6th place. He's now, I think, got to 8th probably. We'll check as they come past us. So the Lamborghini leads Von Turner Taxis. 2nd for Leo in the Ferrari. 3rd Van Splinteren in the Porsche. 4th Enzo Ede in the Audi R8, and then behind him is Jerome Demey, another Audi, then the BMW, this time of Java Volta, who's now 6th, Gioc is 7th in the Mercedes, and Sundstrom 8th in his car. There is the other Porsche of Lappalainen. He shares that car, of course, with Jan Heylen, and behind them is the championship leader, Herbert Voss. So Voss really has made up a lot of ground. There he is at the back of that group. So he's in 11th place now, having started way down at the back of the field. He was in 25th, I believe, at the start of the race. So made great progress, that car, Johnny.
No, absolutely, and I think this is where I think we were sort of quite surprised how slow they were in qualifying, even with where the tyres don't always work very well on the qualifying trim, but even though it was that far back. But now we're seeing sort of a proper sort of race pace now. But what I'm noticing, there was the red Ferrari that is actually behind this 35 car. There was a lot of sliding going on, and also the Porsche that's in front of him was sliding as well. Now maybe the tyres are starting to go off on the other cars. Now this is his opportunity to utilise those tyres he's got underneath him, which normally are quite stable. You see the Porsche is still a little bit twitchy.
And he locked up a little bit.
A little bit, but it wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't too bad. He didn't seem to lose that much time. He's got to be a little bit careful, of course, but it's all about time management in these races.
It is, because unlike GT1, they don't get a new set of tyres to play with halfway through.
No, they don't. And of course, these are drivers who haven't got that experience of tyre management as well. So you've got to think a little bit. And there's pressure rising.
He's done it. He's done it.
I think he may have given him a little kiss to help him out of the way.
Yeah, it did look as though there might have been a faintest touch. So Herbert Voss is on a charge. He's up to 10th place now. He's got past Lappalainen in the number 2 Porsche, and he's going to catch this next group, which is just up ahead is the number 4 Mercedes, and then the 2 BMWs, of course. Yeah, the other Dunlop mounted cars, where he's in a Michelin now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I hope he didn't help that Porsche out of the way. That would be not so good. There we go again.
Take a look in the background.
So he's got a good run. We see the BMW is very strong there. We know how close they are there. There's a bit of movement there. Oh, well, it wasn't a big nudge, was it? Even if there was anything.
It was.
Hopefully not.
For him, though, unluckily for him, and luckily for us, we've got an onboard camera on that number 35 car. We might, get a view in a minute. We'll try and see if we get it. But there, you're right about the Ferrari being in behind that Porsche now. You said it was sliding around a bit, but he's got good grip through the first couple of corners there. And Glengetty now on the attack. Whatever happened, he spun earlier on and he lost all those places. But the car seems to be running pretty competitively again. Is he going to be tempted? He is tempted!
He had a scratch in his new Ferrari.
Yeah, that would have been a great shame. Not the way to start the weekend. But there we go, he's still in position. Wide there for the Porsche, different choice of lines as they come through the right-handers that lead onto Mistral.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's obviously his pace wasn't that bad at the beginning, but now we've got the BMW has pulled away quite a lot.
Let's see if we can find out what happened to Glengetty, Haley, with the team.
Dan, it looks like Glenn's had a spot of bad luck out there. What's going on with the car?
We just had a little bit of an issue with the rear brakes locking up. It was just a bit of bad luck, really. It just caught him at the wrong point and he went off. But he said the car's fine now and his pace is quick, so we'll just push on from here.
So Dan Brown, the other driver of that car. Yeah, you're just pointing out, Johnny, is a note on our screens. Incident between car 35, championship leader, and car 2, the Porsche, under investigation. So race stewards will take a look at that. What looked like a touch of contact between the two cars, and you never know whether they're going to make a call on that one.
No. Well, again, they're going to have different views from what we can see, so they will know better than us.
The teams will make their representations. Here's the onboard then. Take a look at this, Johnny.
I'll let you say this.
You can't back out of it.
Well, it's close. There's a little. I think there's a little kiss.
Tiniest. In touring,
tiniest kiss.
In touring cars,
car.
that would have been nothing.
That was nothing.
No,
exactly.
In touring cars, no one would have even noticed that. But of course, this isn't touring cars. This is GT3, so maybe slightly different standards apply. So race leader has now built up a 7.9 second gap over Leo, the Italian in the Ferrari, then chased by Van Splunteren. Still a little way off the pit stops.
Yeah, well, I think this is where obviously the Ferrari is maybe struggling a little bit more. The Porsche now is getting him under pressure. He's looking in his mirrors all the time. The pace is probably coming down a little bit, and of course that's allowing our leading Lamborghini to pull away, and Albert's doing a good job.
Yeah. Actually, we saw this in Navarra. The rears of the Ferraris do seem to go off on a hot surface, and Navarra was hot. They've got traction control, so it's not as if they're going to suddenly slide around putting the power down, but of course as the grip goes away on the back, they just have to go into corners that bit slower. The traction control will take over more and more if there's not that amount of grip available, so the lap times obviously will increase and get slower and slower. Let's look at Van Splunderen as he has thinks about going up the inside. I don't think that's a serious attempt though, and they follow each other through the chicane.
No, fine. Actually, on speed, they seem to be sort of fairly similar down the straight at the moment. So he's got to have to do the hard work and try and do it through the corners that are coming up very shortly for him.
Take a look at another replay here. I think this was with Herbert Voss once again, wasn't it? That was somebody going off just ahead of him.
Yeah. So I think these two were fighting in front of him, and then obviously he just ran a bit wide or missed the braking point, and off the track he went.
Yeah, that was Gregoire de Moustier, I think, who went off, and he's now behind the Philip Gioc. Oh, and off gone Sundstrom, Edward Sundstrom, front runner in the championship, and he is pulled off to the side of the track. Currently second in the points coming into this event, Sundstrom, and he was in that battle. He dropped a place or two, but he is out of the race, and that will have a big effect in terms of the points at the end of this race. So, all happening. Meanwhile, Herbert Voss, the championship leader, as we know, there was an investigation on screen. No comments about any penalties, though, so that's disappeared for the moment. But car 6 has stopped out at turn 9, as we've just seen. There's the second place Ferrari, still being pushed by the Porsche. Classic confrontation between two of the great sports car manufacturers in the world. Ferrari versus Porsche. These,
there
of course,
could be an overtaking manoeuvre here.
Yeah.
The Ferrari went quite wide into turn 1. The Ferrari's got a bit of a drive there, so maybe he's going to be able to do it. We'll see another overtaking into turn 1.
Yeah, Porsche versus Mercedes this time. Maciczki has just managed to get through there in the Charouz Gravity Run Mercedes SLS, and Lapalainen could not quite fend him off. So we're still about 6 to 7 minutes away from the pit window opening up. Lots of flashing of lights going on, and yeah, the place is taken. Now that's Bowman, number 44, remember, had a spin on the opening lap, but he's got good pace in the car, and potentially is a front runner. It's just that he had that mishap coming down here the first time on the after the start of the race. So we'll see whether he can do any more. Meanwhile, the leaders are on the Mistral Straight once again. This is the closest battle that's going on. Jérôme Demey in the Audi versus the BMW of Java Volta, who has a think about it. Drops back into place, though.
This is all going to sort of help that third car there, that Mercedes. And obviously this number 4 here to sort of heave or close the gap. But obviously if those two cars, the R8, they're leading those cars, they're going to be fighting a little bit. And you see the Mercedes there was trying to get past that BMW. So they're all sort of treading on each other's toes at the moment, which is allowing those Mercedes to get onto the back end of these two cars in front.
You can see how the BMW's been lapping a bit quicker over the last few laps to allow him to catch up. 3,000s on one lap, but before that it was a couple of tenths per lap. So it's potentially a quicker car on the Dunlops there. There it is, and so the Audi does begin to be seen to be holding this lot up, but it's his right, his duty, if you like, to try and stay in front if he possibly can. And they're coming around to complete another lap. We've had 9 laps completed by the race leader now, as we're just over 40 minutes to go in this 1 hour race, with the pit window opening up in just over 5 minutes. The lead has opened up to a whole 10 seconds now over Federico Leo in the Ferrari in second, then Van Splunderen in the Porsche in third, Edis fourth, then this battle for fifth, 6th, 7th, 8th. That's how close they all are together. A bit of a gap back to 9th place, which is Herbert Voss in his BMW Z4. 10th place is Glenn Geddy in the Ferrari, which had a spin but has seemed to have recovered. Maciczki is 11th in his Mercedes. Baumann is 12th in another SLS, and 13th is the other Porsche of Lapalainen, and then we've got the Aston Martin running in 14th place. So this is probably the closest confrontation at the moment, and the number 3 RAF Racing Mercedes there, which will be taken over by the man who was fastest in qualifying this morning, Mike Parisi. I think Mike will be fairly happy to see where that car is at the moment, Johnny, because he'll feel when he gets in the car, so he'll have a chance. But look at Java Volta here, really lining that Audi up.
Yeah, well, he's been put in under pressure for the last couple of laps, but he just hasn't been quite close enough in the right places. I think they're sort of similar here. We know the R8 probably is a bit quicker than that BMW. He's flashing his lights. Probably the psychological psychological overtake, but that's not going to work this time. But of course, it's just allowing those. He's run a bit wide there. The Mercedes here, now you see a little bit wider. I think he's going to have a good drive here.
Yeah.
Now that BMW is going to be under threat now. So he's trying on the outside. He's got the extra power. Has he got enough to pass it through that very fast seam corner coming up?
So let's take a look. No, the BMW fights back down the inside, but the Mercedes does go around the outside. It had just enough to do that, but the BMW might be able to nip back down on the inside here. Careful!
Oh, and now he's got the other number 4 Mercedes. Is he going to try the inside? The BMW's not giving up.
Oh, he's lost it! And he
Why?
hits the championship leading BMW. The two Z4s take each other out. Would you believe it?
Oh, dear, dear, dear.
That is not what they wanted to see. Well, in fact, he's not in that guy. Al Faisal's car's already out. That's 3 BMWs out of this race already. Would you believe that? And Herbert Voss had nowhere to go. He was completely innocent in all that, but the other BM spun across in front of him. Oh, and that's going to change the championship stakes completely. He cannot believe what's just happened. Arms up in despair. He yanks his gloves off, walks away from the stricken Z4. Take another look.
Yeah, well, this is the race. Obviously, he's been passed by the number 3. He's trying to get back up the inside. Just loses it there. Just really should have taken his time. Then he just spins backwards and bang, straight into that 35 race championship leader. And we see
Now,
on board
could he
now.
have done anything here? I don't think he could. Watch on board, Voss.
No, well, he can't. He can sort of see it. He tries to dart out, and he's rolling into him. There's nothing he can do. But that was quite a big impact. That was. I hope we can see those back out.
Yeah, in the second race.
The second race.
That's have as I say, a massive effect on the championship. And Taba Volta, well, he will feel awful because he had the initial spin and lost it. I mean, he won't at all have meant to take anybody out. It was a pure mistake. They're loaded up for a long time through that corner, and he had to watch this again, full speed, and listen. I'll go quiet here. Let's listen. How big a bang is this? Watch this, and watch the BMW ahead. Ow! Arms up. What does that mean? Well, he can't do anything about that. It's just in one of those situations, and they're okay. The drivers are okay, but as you say, Johnny, quite a lot of damage, I would say.
They sounded it. It's only one hell of a crunch. So I hope it is. It's obviously it's on the rear end of one and the front end of the other.
So Chava Volta is out. That means that Claudia Hurtgen is also out. She was due to take over in the next couple of minutes, but unfortunately she's not going to be. Let's go and hear what she has to say.
Claudia, sadly you won't be going out. The race is over, but still race 2 to go.
Yeah, but it's very disappointing for me, for the whole team, because it was the first time in the season that we was in race 1 under the first 6 cars, and so I was really quite happy when I saw it, because I know at the end I can push maybe for the podium, but okay, but for me and especially for the team, I think we had a good car, quite a good car, and Jabba was driving very well, but yeah, it's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Claudia Hurtgen, she's a real star on the Nordschleife for the Nürburgring. She's a champion of the VLN series in Germany in the past, and she's in GT3 the last couple of years, getting some good results. Had a victory last year, but not to be today, I'm afraid, not after that little episode. So, number 15 Audi there, still running in 5th place with the 2 Mercedes, still ganging up on it.